Capricorn, take a breath. Something in your life is shifting, quietly, powerfully, unmistakably. You may not see it yet, but the energy around you is tightening, a sign that a breakthrough is getting closer than it has ever been. Some of you feel the pressure. Some of you feel the pull in a new direction. Some of you can sense a truth rising to the surface, a truth that will change everything about the way you move forward. If you're ready to receive what's meant for you, type "I'm ready" in the comments. Because this message isn't random. It's aligned, it's timely, it's yours. Now, let's step into the energy that has been following you, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Capricorn, stay with me for a moment. I want you to notice something. There's a quiet shift happening around you. Not loud, not dramatic, but steady, like the sound the earth makes before it rises into a mountain. You're stepping into a chapter that feels different from anything you've known. Clearer, faster, more aligned. And I know a part of you has felt this building for a while. That strange mix of pressure and possibility sitting right behind your ribs. It's the feeling that life is about to move, and this time, it won't move in small steps. It moves with purpose, with intention, with a timing that feels almost too perfect to be coincidence. You've carried so much on your shoulders, Capricorn, sometimes quietly, sometimes without anyone noticing how heavy it's been. But you've kept going, even on the days when your strength felt thin, even when the world asked for more than you had to give. And now, the universe meets you halfway. It brings clarity in places where you used to feel fog. It brings courage where hesitation once lived. It brings a kind of inner steadiness that doesn't wobble anymore. Not when someone doubts you, not when circumstances shift, not even when your old fears whisper your name. You're beginning to make decisions without second-guessing yourself. You're moving with a confidence that surprises even you. Because deep down, you know you can't stay where you were. The season of waiting, of tolerating, of shrinking yourself to fit old spaces is ending. This is the space right before the breakthrough. The air feels different here. Opportunities hover just outside your line of sight. Timing tightens. Your instincts sharpen. And life begins to pull you towards something larger than the version of you that survived the last few years. If you've been feeling restless, if you've been waking up with that whisper of something's coming, that isn't imagination. That's alignment. That's your spirit preparing for the shift your mind can't fully name yet. And maybe you've noticed how certain things no longer hold your attention, how your patience for stagnation has thinned, how you don't entertain what drains you anymore. That's not you being cold. That's you growing. That's you refusing to postpone your own life. Let yourself breathe here. Let yourself acknowledge how far you've come. There's a power rising in you that doesn't need to be forced. It's natural. It's earned. It's yours. And as this energy builds, as the ground beneath your feet starts to firm and widen, something else begins to reveal itself. Something connected to your stability, your future, the part of your life that's about to expand in ways you once thought were out of reach. Walk with me, Capricorn, because what's unfolding next is where everything truly begins to change. Capricorn, let me sit with you for a moment, because something in your energy feels like a door unlocking from the inside, quiet, certain, long overdue. There is a shift moving toward you that carries weight, not the heavy kind you've been carrying for years, but the kind that tells you life is finally preparing to bless the parts of you that never stopped working, never stopped believing, even when things didn't move the way you hoped. You know that feeling when the air changes before rain, not a storm, just the promise of relief. That is what's entering your world now. Relief wrapped in opportunity, stability wrapped in momentum, a breakthrough shaped in the form of something you've been waiting far too long for. I want you to hear this with a steady heart. Money begins to move again for you, the kind of movement that feels almost surreal at first, like watching a river thaw after a long winter, slow cracks turning into flowing water. Payments that were stuck begin to loosen. Projects that once stalled start breathing again. Paths that felt blocked shift open by a few crucial inches. And it's not because luck suddenly remembered your name, it's because you stayed when it was hard to stay. You kept showing up when the world gave you every reason to quit. Capricorn, you built this moment with calloused hands and quiet prayers, with the kind of discipline people admire but rarely understand. This financial breakthrough? It isn't just about money, it's about validation. It's the universe saying, I saw what you carried, I saw what you survived, I saw how much you continued giving, even when your cup felt thin. There's a turning in your life now, a turning toward steadiness, toward compensation that reflects your value, toward opportunities that feel aligned with the level of responsibility you've held for so long. You may start to notice small signs at first, someone reaching out, a conversation that opens a door you didn't expect, a number that finally clears, a message that confirms what your intuition whispered for months. These moments are not random, they are threads of a larger movement forming around you. And maybe there were days when you worried the breakthrough would never come, days when you questioned your timing, your effort, your worth. But look at you now, still standing, still building, still ready for the life you once thought was out of reach. Let yourself imagine what it feels like to exhale without fear, to pay a bill without flinching, to invest in something because it excites you, not because you're trying to survive. Feel that, because you are closer to it than you know. And as this wave of abundance approaches, there is something else rising with it, something that touches a deeper part of your story, the part where truth begins to surface, and everything you thought you understood about your path starts to shift in the most unexpected way. Capricorn, there's something I need to whisper to you tonight, something that has been circling your energy for a while now, quiet, persistent, almost waiting for the right moment to land. Truth. Not the kind that shakes the ground beneath you, but the kind that clears the fog you didn't even realize you were standing in. You've been moving through life with strength, with practicality, with that steady Capricorn heart that can hold more than most people will ever understand. But even the strongest among us can carry questions for too long, the kind of questions that press against the back of your mind, like a soft tap on a closed door. And now that door begins to open, not all at once, not dramatically, but gently, the way dawn slips into a room before you realize the sun is rising. There is a truth reaching for you, something connected to your stability, your work, the people you've trusted, or the path you've been hesitant to choose. You may have felt it coming. You may have sensed the shift before the message arrived. Capricorn intuition works like that. Quiet, accurate, unapologetically honest. This truth isn't here to hurt you. It's here to free you, to remove the weight of assumptions and half answers, to help you see what has been pulling your energy down, or who has been standing in a place they never earned the right to stand. Sometimes clarity feels like a loss at first, the loss of an illusion, the loss of a version of someone you wanted to believe in. But clarity is also a doorway, a clean, unblocked, unmistakable doorway that leads you toward the life you were always meant to build. And when this truth arrives, you won't react with chaos. You won't fall apart. You'll feel something settle inside you, a knowing, a quiet exhale that says, so, this is what I needed to see. Because once you see something clearly, you can't unsee it. You don't bargain with it. You don't pretend it away. You use it. You rise with it. You let it sharpen your direction the way pressure sharpens stone. I want you to imagine how it feels when a heavy curtain is pulled back, and suddenly the room you've been sitting in looks bigger, brighter, more possible than you thought. That's what this truth brings. Not fear, not chaos, but expansion, a long-awaited correction, a release that lets your spirit breathe again. And maybe a part of you already knows what I'm talking about. Maybe you've felt the shift in someone's behavior, or sensed the misalignment in a choice you kept postponing. Maybe the universe has been trying to get your attention in small, almost tender ways. A conversation, a thought that won't leave, a feeling you keep brushing off. Whatever form it takes, this truth will put your feet back under you. It will push your shoulders back, straighten your path, and remind you of who you are when no one is watching. And as that clarity settles in your body, something else begins to stir. Something that invites you to stand at the crossroads of your life with a courage you may not have realized you possessed. Capricorn. There's a moment in every life when the road ahead becomes quieter than usual. Not empty, just quiet. The kind of quiet that asks you to listen with more than your ears. You've reached a place like that now. A crossroads that doesn't scream for your attention, but hums with it. Almost as if life is holding its breath, waiting to see which direction you're finally ready to choose. And I know how deeply you feel these moments. You don't rush them. You don't flip a coin. You stand there with the weight of your past on one shoulder and the possibility of your future on the other, trying to make sense of both. The familiar path is still there, the safe one, the steady one, the one that offers predictability even if it asks you to shrink a little. There's comfort in it, and you know exactly how it feels to walk that road, almost too well. But then, there's the other road, wider, unfinished, carved with potential rather than guarantees. A road that calls to the part of you that's been growing quietly beneath your routines. The part that's hungry for something bigger, something truer to who you've become. You may feel that tug already, that gentle pull in your chest that says, what if this time you chose the path that lifts you higher instead of keeps you safe? Life has a way of nudging you when you're ready, even before you admit it out loud. A conversation slips into your day at the perfect moment. A thought arrives out of nowhere and refuses to leave. Someone says something that feels oddly timed, like a sign meant only for you. These moments aren't accidents, they're guideposts. Soft markers from the universe, whispering that you're closer to alignment than you realize. And Capricorn, you've been aligned before, but never quite like this. This time, the clarity isn't coming from pressure or survival. It's coming from a deeper knowing, a steadiness in your spirit that wasn't there a year ago, or even 6 months ago. You're not choosing from fear anymore. You're choosing from truth, from experience, from a kind of wisdom that only comes from walking through seasons that tried to break you, yet somehow made you sharper, quieter, stronger. So, as you stand at this crossroads, don't rush yourself. Let the moment breathe around you. Feel how your body reacts when you imagine one road, and then the other. One pulls you back into what you've already mastered. The other asks you to rise into who you're becoming. And maybe that's why this choice feels different, because for once, the road that lifts you also feels like the road that frees you. Stay here with me for a second. Listen to that subtle shift in your heartbeat. The one that tells you something in your life is opening, gently, inevitably, inviting you toward the kind of direction that only reveals itself when you're finally ready to walk it. Capricorn. Let me sit with you again for a moment, because something in your spirit is changing in ways that even you can feel in your body. It's subtle, like a light turning on in a room you didn't know was dark. But once it's there, you can't unsee it. There's a clarity coming to you now that doesn't shout, it doesn't rush, it just settles in your chest, quiet and certain, as if your soul finally decided to speak in a voice you can no longer ignore. You're thinking differently these days, more sharp, more precise. There's less noise in your decisions, less pulling yourself in directions you never wanted to go. You're beginning to trust your own mind again, not the part shaped by pressure or expectation, but the deeper part, the knowing part, the part that whispers the truth long before life confirms it. And it's interesting, isn't it? How once your mind becomes clear, you start to see people more clearly too. Their intentions, their patterns, what they offer, and what they quietly take. You're noticing who shows up with honesty and who shows up only when they need something. You're noticing who listens and who waits for their turn to speak. You're noticing who adds peace and who drains it. Not because you're judging, but because you finally value your energy enough to protect it. That's growth. That's maturity. That's the kind of strength that doesn't make noise. It just changes everything. And with this clarity, your boundaries are shifting too. Not as walls, but as gentle lines drawn from self-respect. Lines that say, I know my worth now. I know where my time goes. I know what I'm building. You're not easily swayed anymore. You don't fall for sweet words that have no action behind them. You don't chase validation the way you once did. You stand in your truth, even if your voice shakes a little. And there's something powerful about that, Capricorn. Something unspoken, but unmistakable. When you reach this level of inner clarity, life begins to respond differently. Opportunities notice you. People treat you with more care. The world senses the steadiness in your tone, the firmness in your step, the focus in your eyes. This is what it feels like to be unstoppable. Not because you're moving fast, but because you finally know where your energy belongs and where it doesn't. Take a breath with me. Feel that. That calm in your chest isn't emptiness. It's strength returning home to you. It's the realization that you no longer need to fight for your worth or prove yourself to anyone who can't see you. And as this inner light sharpens, as your spirit stands taller than it has in years, something begins to shift around you, the kind of shift that only happens when a person is ready to step into a different version of their life. One shaped not by doubt, but by intention, and by a sense of direction that's becoming clearer with each passing day. Capricorn, come closer for this part. I want to speak to the space in you that still believes in love, even after everything you've had to unlearn. You've grown in ways most people never saw. You've rebuilt yourself quietly, carefully, piece by piece. And somewhere along that journey, your heart learned how to tell the difference between what feels real and what only sounds real. There was a time you gave people the benefit of the doubt, a time you tried to understand their inconsistencies, their mixed signals, their disappearing acts. And maybe you even blamed yourself once or twice, wondering if you were asking for too much when all you ever asked for was honesty. But look at you now. You see things you used to overlook. You hear the truth behind the tone of a message. You sense the shift in someone's energy long before they explain it. It's not cynicism, it's clarity. It's the kind of clarity that comes from choosing yourself after being hurt. From learning that your peace is not a bargaining chip and your heart is not a convenience store people walk into only when they're lonely. Something in you has changed. And it's beautiful. You no longer chase potential wrapped in half-effort. You no longer fall for words that don't match behavior. You no longer bend your boundaries just to feel chosen. You've become intentional, steady, and so incredibly self-aware. You can feel, almost instantly now, when someone's interest isn't genuine, when their intentions flicker instead of burn steady, when they want the comfort of your presence without carrying the weight of your heart. And instead of trying to fix it, explain it, or justify it, you quietly step back. You give the moment space. You give yourself space. Because something in you refuses to repeat the old cycle where you loved harder than you were loved back. There's such wisdom in that. A gentleness mixed with strength. A maturity born from choosing peace, even when passion tries to disguise itself as love. And yet, this isn't a story about closing your heart. Not at all. This is a story about opening it differently, patiently, with more truth, with more discernment, with more belief that the right connection doesn't need to be chased or decoded or pieced together like a puzzle missing half its parts. There is someone out there whose energy won't make you question yourself. Someone who speaks with consistency. Someone who sees you not as an option, but as a presence they want to protect, nurture, and grow with. You may not have met them yet, but life has a way of sending the right people the moment you stop entertaining the wrong ones. And as this clarity settles over your heart, soft but undeniable, something begins to shift in the space around you, opening quietly, making room for a different kind of connection. One that feels less like a test and more like coming home. Capricorn, let me stay here with you for a moment, because even with all this movement in your life, all this momentum building under your feet, there's something else quietly asking for your attention, your body, your mind, the part of you that's been carrying the weight long before the breakthrough began. You've always had this ability to push through, to keep going when you're tired, to produce when you're stretched thin, to hold responsibilities most people would crumble under. It's admirable, it's powerful, but it's also heavy. And lately, that heaviness has been tapping at your shoulder in the late hours of the night, in the middle of the workday, in the spaces where no one sees you. There's a kind of exhaustion that doesn't show up on your face but lives in your bones. A stillness inside you that feels less like peace and more like a reminder that you've been running on empty a little too long. You've been carrying the world, Capricorn. And sometimes, even when good things start happening, the body doesn't immediately know how to relax. It keeps bracing. It keeps anticipating the next demand, the next emergency, the next moment where you have to hold everything together. But you don't have to be in survival mode anymore. You're allowed to breathe now, to pause, to let someone else speak first, to let the world move without you for a day while you gather your strength again. I want you to ask yourself something. When was the last time you rested without feeling guilty for it, or rushing to make up for the time you took? When was the last time you let your shoulders drop all the way down and trusted that the world wouldn't fall apart if you stopped holding it up for a moment? You deserve rest, real rest, the kind that softens the edges of your mind and lets your soul unclench. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. Because even mountains need stillness to keep their shape. And here's the truth most people forget. Rest is not running away. Rest is preparation. Rest is strategy. Rest is how you step into the next opportunity with clarity instead of burnout. You don't have to earn your right to slow down, Capricorn. Your worth isn't measured by how much you produce or how many fires you put out. You've already proven yourself more times than you can count. Now, life is asking you to prove something different, that you can care for yourself with the same devotion you give to everyone else. Take a breath with me. Feel your body settle, even if just a little. That feeling isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's your spirit reminding you that strength isn't only found in pushing forward, but in knowing when to pause so you can rise again with purpose. And as that softness returns to you, as your energy begins to stretch and warm like sunlight after a long night, there's a shift waiting quietly ahead. A shift tied not to exhaustion, but to renewal, and to a version of yourself that moves from a place of power rather than pressure. Capricorn, sit here with me for a little while longer. You've walked through so much in this reading, and I want you to feel what's rising on the horizon for you. Not someday, but now. There is a quiet beauty in reaching the place you're standing in. A place where the past doesn't pull you the same way it used to, and the future doesn't feel as far away as it once did. It's almost as if life has softened its grip, opened its hands, and begun offering you something steadier, something kinder, something you've earned with every step that led you here. You may not realize it yet, but you're entering a chapter that holds more stability than chaos, more clarity than confusion, more truth than illusion. And that shift alone changes everything. There's a grounding in your energy now, a sense of coming home to yourself after years of carrying responsibilities that weren't always yours. And with that grounding comes a kind of confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. It just lives in your posture, your decisions, your breath. You'll start to notice how your life responds to that steadiness. Work begins to align, money flows with more ease. The uncertainty that once sat heavy on your chest starts to loosen its grip. You may even find yourself waking up with a sense of expectancy, a soft curiosity about what good might arrive today, instead of bracing for what could go wrong. That's the gift of the season you're stepping into. A life that supports you instead of draining you. A rhythm that gives more than it takes. A future built from intention rather than survival. And Capricorn, you deserve this. You deserve a life where your hard work finally shows on the outside what you've carried and cultivated on the inside. You deserve the kind of success that feels sustainable, the kind that roots into your foundations and doesn't disappear the moment you catch your breath. But the real transformation isn't just in the stability or the money. It's in the way you're beginning to trust yourself again. In the way you're no longer shrinking to fit where you've outgrown. In the way you're choosing yourself with a clarity people around you can feel without you saying a single word. This is what stepping into your next life looks like. Not a dramatic explosion, but a deepening, a strengthening, a steady realization that you are no longer living as a smaller version of who you were meant to be. And as you move forward, as this new chapter unfolds under your feet, you'll notice something else too, a kind of peace settling into the corners of your life, the kind that comes when everything finally starts aligning with who you truly are and who you're becoming. Take a breath, Capricorn. Let it fill you, because what's ahead isn't just change. It's the beginning of a life that feels like it was always waiting for you to arrive. Capricorn, before we close tonight, I want you to feel something. Right there in your chest, that small warmth rising, that quiet spark coming back to life. That's not the end of a message. That's the beginning of a shift inside you, a shift you've earned, a shift that knows your name. You've walked with me through truth, clarity, and the return of your own strength. And somewhere along the way, something opened, something softened, something remembered who you are. If any part of this message found you, if it touched a place you haven't visited in a while, just write "I'm ready" in the comments. Claim what's yours. Pull it into your life with both hands. And if your spirit felt held here, if this space gave you even a moment of peace, go ahead and subscribe. Stay close. Because messages like this, they don't arrive by accident. Capricorn energy is rising. Your path is opening. And you're stepping into a life that fits you in ways the old one never could. So breathe. Trust yourself a little more tonight than you did yesterday. You're not walking this journey alone. I'm right here with you, and this community is too. And when you're ready, the next message will find you. It always does.